Hello, and welcome to 5 Beer Club video number 239. We're going to talk about a couple articles, about older Americans and their financial situation and their expectations, and, also younger Americans and how they expect things will be when they get older. All right, so first one in 10 Americans say they'll be in debt for the rest of their lives. And let's see what it says. A new study from Northwestern Mutual has found that many Americans are sinking in debt and don't expect to climb out of it anytime soon. The study found that more than 1 in 10 Americans say they will be in debt for the rest of their lives. The reality, however, may be bleaker. For its 2018 Planning and Progress study, Northwestern Mutual surveyed 2,003 U.S. adults, revealing just how far deep in debt Americans are. Northwestern Mutual found that 13% say they will be in debt for the rest of their lives. But looking at a 2017 study from Experian and Credit.com, 73% of consumers had outstanding debt when they were reported deceased. What? 73 divided by 13 is, I don't know, like 73 divided by 13. 5.6. So that's how much of a difference there is between people's expectations and what's actually happening right now. 560% different. What? That's crazy. It's actually not 560% different. It's actually 560% minus 100% is 460% different. Technically. Yeah, so big mismatch there. And so let's dig into this. 73% of people who die with some kind of outstanding debt. Though there was no information on how long they carried the debt, those who died with debt had an average total balance of $61,000, including mortgage debt. Without home loans, the report states there was an average balance of $12,000. So, 80% of this debt, something like that, is a mortgage debt that people die with. So people are mostly dying with mortgages. But there is $12,000, about $13,000 of other kinds of debt, right? And it looks like most of that's credit card debt. And then, let's see, auto loans, personal loans, student loans. Yeah, but credit card debt seems to be most of that. Credit.com's study used data based on Experian's File 1 database, which consists of 220 million consumers. Experian looked at consumers who, as of October 2016, were not deceased, but then showed as deceased December 2016. There was no information on how long the debt was carried. In contrast, Northwestern Mutual's survey found that 43% of Americans expect to be in debt for just 1 to 5 more years, 19% 6 to 10 years, and 15% 11 to 20 years. So a lot of these people who think they're going to be getting out of debt are not actually going to be getting out of debt. And I would say, if you think you're going to be out of debt in 20 years, that means you're not really working on getting out of debt now, so it's more likely you're just going to keep doing the same old crap that got you into debt, and then 20 years later you think, oh, another 20 years I'll be out of debt. No, you won't. So, yeah, aim to be out of debt in 2 years. Have a 2-year plan to completely nuke your life, get rid of that debt, free up your cash flow, and make your financial life magical. Americans' optimism about paying off their debt sooner rather than later may be easier said than done, but debt repayment strategies can help. And of course, now they just talk about the 2 strategies. Paying the highest interest rate first, which works less often than just paying the smallest debt first. The snowball method. See, this is classic shitty journalism, shitty financial journalism. The snowball method is another effective way to pay down debt faster, especially if you struggle with motivation. It prioritizes your smallest debt first, regardless of interest rates, so that you'll gain momentum as you wipe out more and more debt. Many people are going to struggle with admitting that they struggle with motivation. And so they're going to be like, ew, the snowball method. But if you actually look at studies of real people, snowball method works more often than the highest interest rate method in terms of people following through and paying off all the debt. All right, 1 article down, 1 more to go. As debt grows among older Americans, so does bankruptcy. Let's go read about it. The share of bankruptcy filers, Let's go. There we go. The share of bankruptcy filers who are older than 65 is the highest it's ever been. As the cost of living outpaces incomes, healthcare costs rise, and debt swells, there's been more than a twofold increase in the rate of older Americans filing for bankruptcy, according to a new study. For an increasing number of older Americans, their golden years are fraught with economic risks, it reads. Debt among older Americans is rising fast. In 2016, the average debt in families in which the head of the household is 75 or older was $36,757. That is up from the $30,000 in 2010, according to a recent report by the nonprofit Employee Benefit Research Institute in Washington. When Faye was laid off from her job in her 70s, she contemplated retirement. A painful reality hit when she realized she didn't have a nest egg that could cover her expenses or current debt. I see myself with no house, said Faye, who agreed to be interviewed only if her last name was not used because she is afraid of collection agencies hunting her down. Living on the street. Faye has $50,000 in outstanding student loans from when she had gone back to school in her 50s to get her MBA. So that's $50,000. So 10 years after she got that MBA in her 50s, now she's in her 70s, so it's at least 10 years, possibly 15 years. She still hasn't paid off the MBA. She also has a mortgage on her house in Pennsylvania and another $50,000 in credit card debt. Whoa, that's living beyond your means, $50,000 in credit card debt. High balances and calls from collection agencies can leave many older Americans feeling helpless. The average monthly Social Security check is $1,404, and more than 40% of single adults receive more than 90% of their income from that check. That is a scary figure, according to the government. Yeah, 40% of single adults receive more than 90% of their income from a Social Security check. You know, we got to read about this. This is kind of freaking me out. Because this doesn't say 40% of older adults. This says 40% of single adults. What? That sounds insane. Especially if you can't collect Social Security until you're 59. So, yeah. All right. Well, we will read that fact sheet in a moment. Older Americans' debt can threaten this. The number of Social Security recipients 65 and older who had their check reduced because of their student loans increased by more than 500% between 2002 and 2015, according to the Government Accountability Office. So if you owe the government money in the form of student loans, you can have your Social Security check reduced. Interesting. There's just fewer options you have at that stage of the game, said Justin Halverson, a financial advisor and co-founder of Great Waters Financial in Minneapolis. But the situation is far from hopeless. Here's what you can do. Get on a budget. Do what you can. All right, so that means negotiating with creditors, apparently. And consider lifestyle changes. I think this is an obvious one. The earlier you proactively change your lifestyle, the more control you have over it. Later on, your lifestyle is changed for you and not in ways that you want. So it's always better to proactively change your lifestyle than to wait for it to happen to you. And then ditch the regret. The last thing you want to spend your older years doing is replaying your wrong financial decisions over and over again. Clearly, you're not alone. So, you know, from my point of view, I guess I don't think so much like ditch the regret. I just think like set aside time for planning, because I think that the more time you spend planning, the more confident that you get you can change some things. And then it's less important to regret because you actually have some power. You actually feel like you can do something about it. So, yeah, why do I have this video about older Americans and them struggling? Because I don't want it to be you, dear reader. I don't want it to be you who is listening to this video. I want you to be aware that age is coming and that these problems are real and many people fall into these traps. And now is the time to proactively plan and prepare to avoid these outcomes for yourself, so that you can be old and relaxed, so you can be old and enjoying yourself. All right, that is it for 5-Year Club video number 239. Hope you enjoyed it and have a fabulous evening.